Welcome to the Redhead Reveal podcast, where we reveal what it means to truly connect. I'm Jenn Pinkerton, your Redhead host. I'm a psychotherapist, high-performance coach, sexologist, writer, and speaker. As a connection expert, I help people transform by exploring the root causes and beliefs and behaviors that hold them back. Let's talk about living a life where you thrive. I'm really excited today. I've got some friends who I really respect that are going to come talk about their business and their relationship. So we're in for a treat today. I've got Jentry Kelley and Shawn Lynch. Thank you.
Thank you for having us on.
This is going to be really fun. I've never had somebody talk about makeup before, and I've never really realized until I looked at your bio, all these things you even did before that. I knew you were super successful, and I knew you created this empire in this world, but it was really fun for me to kind of get to see that. And then for you, Shawn, I knew nothing about how you got started.
Well, everybody thinks he's a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah. Most people didn't. Whenever she would show me on social media, they're like, Shawn, a stay-at-home dad? Because I would always have my gym clothes, bringing the baby inside.
You're dispelling the myth.
Yeah. And then so she goes, no, he's not a stay-at-home dad. I didn't care. I was like, I don't care.
Well, okay, and that I don't care philosophy is something I really do want to touch on, because I have seen that and watched that based on just what I do, and all I do is analyze people all day long. I've looked at that part of your relationship, and it seems like y'all have this very unique and wonderful dynamic where you kind of don't really give a shit what people are saying about anything, and you live your life and you're successful, and I love that, and I wish more people kind of grasped that concept.
Well,
what do you think about that?
Well, I think that's what makes us work, because I can't be with somebody who cares too much, because then that leads to insecurity. And one thing about Shawn, he's always been real secure and literally does not give a shit what anyone thinks. I do it to some extent, right? But he really doesn't. He's like, just let him think I'm a stay-at-home dad. It's fine. No one needs to know what I do. Because he was so private with everything. He's like, don't post videos of me. Don't tell people what I do. He just didn't want, some people from his past to come back and be like, hey, can I get a loan, dude?
Well, it happens. It always happens, you know? But haters are going to hate no matter what you do.
I don't know what it was. I was just super private and a little bit insecure about showing stuff online. So that was probably the only thing I was insecure about. I was like,
but you have shifted into something very different now.
A little bit. Number one, because I knew how important it is to have some type of influence or personal brand at some point, especially for some of my long-term goals. And also, it would improve my communication, because I was really terrible at it. Definitely one of my weakest points. I always used to joke with her. I'm like,
what do I do with my hands?
Yeah, I was like, if I had your communication skills naturally, I was like, I would have been a billionaire by the time I was 30. But I just lacked the communication side of it. So I said, if we do this podcast, I know in a couple years I'll be really good.
Well, you would never know this, but Shawn still struggles with, but a lot better now than before, because he's got his hormones straight, but from anxiety. You wouldn't think that somebody as successful as him would have anxiety, because usually people who are that successful and have accomplished as much as he has have a lot of confidence. But he always struggled with that, and just being in front of the camera and not saying the right thing and pausing. And even if I surprise him and put him on camera, he freezes again. So it's like he has to be prepared. But I do think that, starting the podcast and getting a social media account a little less than a year ago has really helped him, just even in social settings, be able to communicate better.
Well, it's a sense of almost exposure therapy to a degree. You're putting yourself out there and deciding, I'm going to be able to do this. This is a decision I made, that I'm going to try to execute this. As you said, you identified it's going to work for you to be able to have your brand out there. So it's kind of a necessary evil to some degree.
Anytime you do something, over a long period of time, very consistently, you'll be better at it. And so I knew if I did it for long enough, it'd be very, very uncomfortable in the beginning, which it really was.
But you only had to get to 20 episodes to be in the top 1%.
There you go.
Yeah. And then,
because all the others failed before that.
Yeah, they give up. Everybody gives up, because it is hard. I mean, people don't realize how hard. I was just talking about this before we started. Podcasting is hard. It's like, I have a fear of public speaking. I'm sure Shawn did as well. I don't know. You've never been put in a situation where you have to speak in front of like groups of hundreds of people yet.
No. I was deathly afraid. But now I'm getting to the point where I'm like, you know what? I could probably do it. And then, I'm definitely still looking for more of a mentor / coach that can like really help me with stage presence and camera presence. And so one of my friends thinks he found the right person. He's like, I really have to connect you with this guy. So I'm pretty excited. We'll see what happens.
Oh, I want to hear about that. Yeah. That's going to be fun.
No, I think it'll just take me to that next level. And then it's about holding someone's attention when you get on stage, which I'm definitely not good at. And I wasn't even good at doing it on camera. But I think, with all my consistency from what I've been learning over the last year, plus hopefully getting someone to, guide me to that next level that's really good at it.
It is
kind
a
of my
process.
next step, I want to shorten my learning curve. And if I could just get up there and wing it, it's going to take me a really long time. And so I like paying to shorten my learning curve wherever I can. And so if I can do that with any way, shape, or form with any part of my life, I do that now.
I did the same thing because I do a lot of speaking events as well. And in the beginning, it was smaller and harder. And then you do it eventually and you get to be really comfortable with that and with your message. And that's, you understand your message and what your concept is.
And that's my piece of advice is that, just getting up in front of a group in college at 19 years old in front of 20 people, I felt like my armpits were sweating. I remember I was wearing this little tight BB shirt, spandex. You could see my sweat rings and I felt like everyone could see my heart beating. And I was talking about something I felt confident about, which was makeup. Right. I was like, we got to pick a topic. But my piece of advice for people is start off with small groups, maybe, one friend, one stranger, and just kind of work your way up. So I think doing the makeup parties when I first started this 13 years ago, what I would do, it's free if you get together 6 or more people, and I would host a little makeup class, and it was still very nerve-wracking, but then I got better and better and better. And do I still get butterflies when I stand up in front of groups of 100? Absolutely. It never goes away completely. But once you get going and it starts feeling more confident or more comfortable, and that's how the podcasts are too. Once it's over, I'm like, why was I even stressed about that? That was
But
crazy.
I love that transparency, that you're willing to own that. And I think that's something that I have seen over all the time that I've watched you, your social media presence. You are so transparent about everything, almost that some might say is to a fault. But I think it's actually wonderful because the more authentic we live our lives, the more successful we're going to be. It's just
There's
a
not
fact.
enough people being, I get on social media with yesterday's makeup on. People say, wait, aren't you, makeup and skincare specialist? You sleep in your makeup? I'm like, yes, bitch, I do. Mental how many cocktails I have, it ain't coming off.
Well, you're real.
I think being real and let other people know, like, I wake up looking like that too.
People buy from people they trust.
That's right. That's true.
So that goes back to the whole social media thing. So if you just actually be the person that you are, they're going to end up trusting you. Because people will sniff that out.
I agree with
I think
you.
people are too scared to be judged, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to be themselves. Like, if I'm authentic, then people may not like me.
Well, and there's imposter syndrome all day long too, and that's a huge part of it. In your path of where you've come from, when I was reading everything that you've done, all these businesses you've built up to an amazing amount, and then the exit strategy of that, and then doing something different, I think that to watch how much you've pivoted and to see that, I was really excited reading everything. What do you think has been the biggest key to your success?
Consistency. I think would probably be the biggest thing. I think a lot of people start something and then they don't see results fast enough, and so they give up. And so just like I was talking about on this communication and podcast, I'm like, you know what? I know it will be really good. I don't know when, but if I do it consistent enough and long enough, I know it will be successful and we'll then be able to monetize it and help a bunch of people at some point. But that's the stuff I'm really good at. So I'm like, I don't care how long it takes. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if people say it's stupid. If I do it long enough and consistent enough, number one, I'll improve and get better. But then number two, it will be successful over time. And so that's what I've done in every single thing I've started, whether it's health or business or any other thing that I've ever put my mind to. It's like, I can do it longer and it'll take me a long time to figure it out. But I can do that without just looking and caring what people think and then having results right away. Delayed gratification is a big reason that people give up and they just don't have it.
Oh, sure.
So
I love instant gratification all day long.
Everyone does. And so
does.
they're like, hey, I started this business or I started this health program. I've been doing it for 2 weeks. I didn't see any results. I'm like, well, it's 2 weeks. I mean, try like years before, maybe in health you can get there a little bit faster. But in general, that's how most people, I think, fail, is not sticking to something for long enough and being consistent enough. Because if they did it for long enough, they would ultimately be really good at the thing that they're doing and be very successful at it.
And here you are with, I think I read, like a $75 million real estate portfolio.
We do
that's
now,
amazing.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of perseverance. It takes a lot of commitment. And there has to be some failure in there. There has to be something
exactly
that
what
didn't
I was gonna
work
say.
in that.
There's he's tried to start several different businesses, 1 out of 5 don't work, but you keep going. You learn from it and you learn how to be better on the next thing. And I think people think, well, everything he does is just, he makes it just look so easy and everything works out. Not everything works out. And it's fine if it doesn't, but as long as you have more wins than you do losses, it all works out in the...
That and you learn from everything you do.
You do.
So,
I think that's the biggest part.
Yeah. I started out flipping houses, and ultimately, that's not what I do now today. But during 2008, I had like 8 houses on the ground, I think. And of course, I'm fairly young. I'm in my 20s still. And I'm flipping houses. I'm selling everything, think I'm king of the world, and I know everything because everything I buy just makes money. And then 2008 happened, and then you couldn't sell anything. Nobody's even looking at it.
No, that was 2013. It was 2013.
No, that's the second time.
Oh, we have it twice then.
Number one, 2008, had a bunch
He's like, I remember the date in which this happened, Jentry.
It
That was actually when we first met.
No. Yes, it was 2008, and I had all these houses on the ground. 2008 happens. I had never been through a cycle like that before. And so when it happened, I could sell nothing. I didn't have a ton of cash. All my cash was in all these properties.
Right. You weren't liquid.
Yeah. And so, I figured out that I put one on the market. I rented it in like a week, and I go, okay, well, that makes sense, because you can buy the house so low, and then you still have a margin, on the rental, even if you have a bank loan. And so I got me into single family rentals, and then, shortly after, commercial real estate, which now I own the most of. But, if that didn't happen, then I wouldn't have learned how to do the other thing. And I think that's where people, they think they have to have this huge plan to figure everything out. But the thing is when you start something, you figure things out along the way, and ultimately you'll be successful. It might just not be the exact same plan that you thought initially was going to happen.
Now that I think about it, that's how you met her.
That is how we met, because you were doing real estate, and my husband and I at the time bought a house that you and your then partner had built.
The Betty Jane house.
Yes.
And that was an issue too with that.
That was about 11 years ago.
That wasn't their house though.
It was the one next door.
No, it was the one they bought.
We bought one, and there was issue with
there was a big hurdle.
Some small property line.
But that was
a
about
couple inches off on the property line, and the neighbor lost his mind or whatever.
I can't believe you remember all those details.
I'll tell you a story.
But that's how I met you, because the realtor was like, you got to meet this girl. We sold her house, and I think you'd really like her, and you came in for your makeup, and we instantly connected.
That's right. I know.
Good friends
and
ever
here we
since.
are now.
That's been 12 years.
About 12 years. You're right. I hear two things of what you said that I want to pick up on that are important to me, and from the scope and the lens I look at things. Number one is a growth mindset. I personally really push this all day long to people, is that if we don't examine how we look at the world and how we want to, what we want to achieve, what we want to do, what we want to grow from, every living thing is either going or dying. And so I hear that with you. And the next thing is I hear a clarity of thought. I hear that you have this thought path of what you're going to do, and you've made a decision about what's that going to look like. And I already know that you do the exact same thing, because I've had so many conversations with you where like, yes, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And you have a plan, And there is that old adage about, failing to plan and planning to fail, but it's so much bigger than that. To me, it is about clarity of thought. And it's about being able to shut out the noise, being able to shut out the imposter syndrome, to shut out, the things that limit us, and to be able to be a communicator, not only with, your group, your team, whoever works for you, with you, but with each other. Because throughout all this success, you guys have been together. And so there's something right there that is a big key that I kind of want to touch on. Well,
that was, Shawn and I have been together for 16 years. I left one time. I was like, this is boring. He's working all the time. This is not working for me. And then the second time we just got back together so quick, and I wasn't ready yet. But at the end of the day, I thought I wanted to be with somebody who was more type A, more my personality, more like to travel, like to, wanderlust, you know what I mean? And I can't be with someone like myself. And he compliments me best. And it's like the third time with our relationship. We're best friends now. I mean, we're life partners. We're together forever. And I think what makes us so cohesive and we work well together is he lets me be me. I've been in other relationships where I leave a dinner and then the other guy would say, why did you say that? Why did you do that? Never once has Shawn ever said that to me. I mean, even if he doesn't like what I said, he laughs it off and just moves on.
Well, there's acceptance there.
Yeah, yes, we listen and we do not judge.
That's a great trend, though. I really enjoyed that trend on TikTok.
That's how it is. And he's also my number one cheerleader, and he never tells me that I can't do something. He's very empowering, even if it's something that I feel like, I don't know if I can do it. He's like, yes, you can. Why would you not be able to? And I think that's just so fitting for me, and it makes us, there's no fighting in our relationship. We don't argue. I mean, it did get a little rough when we had two houses under construction at the same time and us both trying to GC the project.
Well, that can be a relationship killer, that alone. So,
but we don't fight. We get along. We're able to talk to one another. Things don't get heated. We don't let it get to that point. In any other relationship that I've ever been in, because I'm a bulldog, I don't let men disrespect me because of my daddy issues. And as soon as somebody gets heated with me, I'm like, oh, I see my dad in that, and I lose my fucking mind.
Okay, so...
But with him, we don't ever get to that point. So it's just so easy.
But you know that about you.
Yeah.
You know that. You can right here tell me, I know I had these issues. I know I had these things. I know how I'm wired, what's going to trigger me, and I'm not going to let that be a factor in my relationship.
Yeah, and he doesn't do anything. He doesn't pick at me, as I always say. He never pokes and picks at me. He just, if I'm having a bad day, he's like, you know what? You're a little grumpy right now. I'm just going to go over here. You just do
well, on that same note, I mean, in your bio and everything I read about you, you had some anger you dealt with. You had some things you dealt with growing up. And how do you prevent that from showing up in your relationship from your perspective?
I don't know when that went away, but just in my early 20s, kind of blaming the world after my father passed away. Have no idea why. And I think when you're a young man trying to prove yourself, you just have a lot of extra anger issues. The older I got, business helped a lot, exercise helped a lot, but over time you have all these big problems and you learn not to even care about a bunch of small problems that usually come up. And so you just learn how to handle problems a lot better.
I love that you said exercise though, because I really do believe that when we become in tune with our body, it is a game changer. I hate that word, but it really is. It's when everything feels differently, when you can know yourself and you work on being the healthiest version of yourself. Whether it is, I don't have a lot of time for exercise, but it's every supplement I'm going to need to be taking, everything I know that's going to help me, everything mentally. I have self-care. And I've watched these videos where, I think that the one that I enjoyed the most is when you're bringing in the cold plunge in what was supposed to be Gentry's office. And, because you're like, what, this is what I want to do. And I'm a big cold plunge believer, so I get it.
I get so much use
There's
out
this
of that.
idea of that. And I've heard you talk about, I know this gene that I have. I know what I need to look at. I've started taking this and doing this. And I think it's so important for people to be successful in business. You have to actually be in tune with your body and your mind and have some sort of sense of oneness about that.
Well, I never knew the importance of taking the right kind of supplements. Like I'm telling you, L-theanine is better than an antidepressant for me.
Oh, I take it every day.
I mean, the antidepressants made me sick to my stomach. I didn't like the way it made me feel empty or like I was turned off for me personally. But I do struggle with anxiety. I got ADHD. I'm just drink my coffee and I'm go.
Right there with you, sister.
And I let little things turn into big things. But what Shawn always says, he's like, those are small problems, babe. Small problems. And anyone who gets that mad about something small, it's not you, it's them. They have no real problem.
That's
so
right.
that small thing becomes a big thing for them. Don't let the little things get to you. Just move on. But L-theanine just takes the edge off for me. He drinks green tea all day. L-theanine's made with green tea.
Yes.
And I think the green tea just kind of puts you on chill. It's like smoking some pot without feeling high.
Exactly.
And it just helps me kind of manage my stress level. And I just don't care as much about the little things and just kind of say, not that big of a deal.
But y'all both have that interest. Like you have an interest to say, I want to do what's good for me. I want to do the things that are going to make me be more successful, that can propel me, to the next level. Yep. Both of you do that.
It's the number one thing that people can do to not just be successful, but just improve their life.
I agree.
Because it's going to create a bunch of discipline, habits. It's going to give them more energy, so they're going to be able to last longer throughout their day. I mean, there's just so many benefits.
Go ahead.
I was actually watching something today that was talking about Taekwondo, our kids in Taekwondo, and karate and jiu-jitsu, however you say that, and how that teaches you to be, for men especially, teaches you to have that like competitive edge and that aggression that men need to have to feel whole, right? But also teaching you how to control your mind so you don't act on that. And I think that's so important, and I'm glad our son's doing that, because it's good to know how to defend yourself, but also teaching them not to
stay
use
regulated.
Like Shawn did. Shawn was always getting in fights when he was a teenager.
You were a scrapper.
Yes, exactly. Galveston, fighting at the bars, but he didn't know how to control it. So he's missing that portion of it. Like you want to buck up to me? I'm going to show you what I got, but not controlling it.
Yeah, that too. And that's why my kids in boxing, MMA, Taekwondo, because it is super important.
Both parts.
Yeah, when you're a young man, most young men, they're again angry and trying to fight,
prove something.
If you actually train your whole life, if I would have been boxing since I was 10 years old or 9 years old, I probably would have never gotten one fight. And people don't really look at it that way, because I would have been super confident. I would have just probably laughed at somebody if they would have tried to fight me like I would now. It would be a joke. But I think it's just super important for kids, for number one, for that reason. And then number two, like she said, just discipline and control.
Well, it builds confidence.
Control your emotions.
And I like that.
Confidence. It's also, you have no team. So you're not relying off anybody to help you. It's a hard mental challenge, physical, everything. And so it's super important. So my kids in every kind of fighting I can get them in.
But I love that y'all are thinking about that in a long-term way, about what can we do that we know has worked for us. And so much of good parenting is about taking your own experiences and figuring out how can I reverse engineer that in a way, for my children that are going to be healthy. And, the number one thing for any child to be able to grow up in the healthiest way possible is to have emotional attunement. And I know you guys do that. I've seen it. I've enjoyed watching, how you guys both parent. It's a wonderful thing.
I think we all come from the generation where the parents were very absent.
Yes, 100%.
A lot of people in our age group have daddy issues. His dad was always working and never really home. And when he was home, he was mad and angry because he hated his job. And that's kind of what I grew up with. So I want to do whatever I can to not let my kids experience what I did, with verbal abuse.
Right.
So I try not to, raise my voice too often. I mean, every once in a while, Liam gets kind of crazy and you got to calm him down. But of course, I think everybody wants to try to do better than what their parents did with them.
What about boundaries? How much do you see that boundaries are important for you both in your careers?
Oh God, huge for me. I mean, setting boundaries and organizing my days has really helped with my mental health, because owning 4 businesses now, and being pulled in every which direction all the time. I can't with that. That really, really put me on edge and made my anxiety even worse. But now that I have certain days devoted to certain things, so I can focus solely on those businesses and being able to say no to people more, because we get a lot of asks, especially now that Shawn's on social media. I think everyone thinks they're asking, and they're the only ones asking, I would love to pick you and Jentry's brain. Can I take y'all to dinner? And I'm like, there's only so much social battery I have, especially after socializing all day. But I'm getting better at, saying no and setting my boundaries, so I have time with him to work on our, marriage and still be around my best friend, and then still be around our kids as much as we can too.
And being in, the limelight, so to speak, where you are so visible, that's going to create so much of that. It's the ask, it's the want. People want to learn from you. People want to benefit from you. And it's a hard lesson, I think, to learn. And the sooner people do learn to be able to use boundaries, it's helpful. What about you?
I'm still learning.
He doesn't set boundaries yet.
I don't yet. I thrive in some chaos.
You're badass, Shawn. Come on. It's my
I show
saying
him
here.
how many messages I get, and he's like, man, I had 10 today. I thought that was a lot. You got 100. And I'm like, this is why, I've been doing this for almost 30 years. And I have been really a part of social media since MySpace. It was big when Facebook came out. He's just now starting this. So his social battery is not drained yet. So he responds to every single person and says, yes, 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 all the time. One day he'll learn.
I've learned to do it in business. I mean, the hard thing about when you have some success, for me too, as an entrepreneur, you want to start so many things. And then that's the hard part for me. I'd learned that I had to say no and focus on the things that we do have on our table, because if not, I'm starting new stuff every week. And
he doesn't say no.
Yeah, it's tough.
He's also learning how to use a calendar. It's great.
Hey, technology, embracing technology is important.
After double booking himself a few times, I'm like,
You figured it out.
I don't mind the chaos. I kind of thrive in that, and I need it every day. Some sort of chaos. If I was getting 100 messages a day, that would be fine. I'd figure out how to monetize it and scale it, and we'd be okay.
And there's that brain thing. Okay, how can I take that and get to here?
That's not a problem. I can fix all that.
That's definitely where we differ.
Okay.
Is I am a multitasker, but I also like to perfect things before I launch things, right? He is a serial executor, as I say. He can juggle 15 things at one time without getting stressed out, and he's more of a just do it and figure it out as you go, or I'm more of a perfectionist. So it kind of balances us out, with the
Yin and
podcast.
yang.
Yeah, I need it a little bit, or I'd be balls to the wall all the time. Well, now later in my career, where we've even become more successful is I put the right people in place. So yeah, I'll start something really fast, but I won't start it unless I have the right person or an exit plan in mind. As far as exit and me not being the CEO is where I go every day. And I'm happier than I've ever been, because we do have a ton of stuff going on, but we have very, very capable people running everything and working closely with me. And so that's how when I'm starting a business, I definitely know I can't be the point guy.
I think that's what you two are alike.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I would not.
It took me 20 years to figure it out. Easier said than done. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't have built what I built without having somebody right here with me, Ashley over here, that's helped me from the ground floor. I mean, you just can't. You have to have people to help you. You have to have that team and understand that.
I didn't do that.
And
that's where I messed up.
But I remember you struggled with some of those things. Yeah. I mean, that's hard.
And there's just different ways to do things. But if you want to grow and you want to scale, you have to do it the way you two did and hire the right people. You had a team. Yes. I mean, you just started this business to be as big as you are now.
Yes.
As early on is because you hired all the right people to help you out. So you weren't behind the chair, 7 days a week doing this.
That's right. And I do the same thing you do too, though, that I do choose. I have a day that I am working on my PhD. I have a day that I do podcasting marketing. I have other days in which I only see clients. And I don't change that up. I have a different hat you wear each day. And I think that's really important.
And I keep my one flex day. So Monday's my flex day where I try to get rid of, get through my own, if I have a laser appointment or a doctor appointment or whatever.
Maintenance. Gotta have maintenance.
Yeah, gotta maintain that.
Also, business owners, that's how they get burned out or really with anything, because they're doing a lot of stuff they don't like to do eventually, because you're trying to just do single thing in the company.
Right.
And that's why people say, oh, I'm burned out, I'm tired of it. Not really. If they're able to focus on the thing that they probably really started the business for, whatever they're good at, and then they have help to do the rest, they'll actually enjoy everything they're doing again.
Well, it is the concept of the Peter Principle, if y'all know what that is. It's a book, a very old book, but it's the concept of that we all have something we're great at, but if we try to be great at everything, we will be great at nothing.
Oh, yes,
and we
I have
can't
that
keep leveling up to the next level if that level is not meant for us.
No.
We have to say somebody else needs to do that. I need to stay here, just like you're saying. I don't need to be CEO. I don't need to maybe be this of something. I just need to benefit the revenue from it. I need to benefit from the growth of it.
But people making mistakes. He's more understanding. He's like, they're going to let them touch the stove. They'll figure out it's hot. You can tell them it's hot until you touch the stove.
Right.
And they're going to know what hot is, and they're going to do it again. But for me, I'm such a perfectionist, and I want every customer to have the Chick-fil-A of cosmetics experience. I want everyone to have a consistent experience.
Yes.
For him, he's like, they're going to mess up. It's fine. They'll learn from their own mistakes, and it won't happen again.
You can't go fast enough that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we're talking about this, I kind of think back fundamentals. I feel like you've always had this less is more philosophy as far as like, I remember you're in the very beginning when you coined this cute and carpool, and you coined what was the, about the no bottom eyeliner.
Hashtag no bottom eyeliner.
That's it, yes. You had these ideas of these are my brand, this is where I'm going. And I think that a lot of people in a type of industry that you're in, that's the disconnect, is because there's nothing to know what it's about with. And you have very specific branding that's worked for you.
I always go back to, just like I said a second ago, we're the Chick-fil-A of cosmetics. Regardless of which Chick-fil-A you go to, the nuggets are going to taste the same. Because we know how many companies out there that have inconsistencies. And I like to be very copy and paste. And I tell every artist that I interview, if you want to come in here and do whatever you want, then you need to go to Mac.
It's not the place for you.
No, because we have certain, guidelines that you have to follow, the order you apply the makeup, because that was what I felt like we were lacking at Neiman's.
It was missing.
Bobbi Brown and Laura Mercier, nobody educated. Bobbi Brown did a little bit of education, but didn't really go into detail like I did. I have homework sheets that tell them exactly what brush to use, what product to use.
The systematic approach, basically.
The why. Because from working for, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 different brands over a now 29-year period, I just added it up the other day, I know what people complain about, what they don't like, what they say, I wish it was this, I wish, like at Chanel, the brushes had numbers. Why are there numbers? I don't know what a number 1 brush does. I took all the annoying things out of it, made it easy, because everybody wants to feel as beautiful as the day they leave the salon, every day.
Right.
So if I can give the tools and the education to people to feel confident in doing it on their own, sometimes it takes some people, 6 to 8 lessons to get it right, then they don't need us anymore. And then you can constantly have room for new people to come in because you're not seeing the same people over and over and over like you do your hairdresser. You encourage them to do it on their own, and then people notice, you look better. What did you do? Did you do Botox?
Right.
No, it's my new makeup routine. I'm not wearing bottom eyeliner anymore. Because it really does lift. And being an artist first, then makeup artist, I just applied things in a simple way, not by what sells. Okay, so if you have a male decision maker at a cosmetic company and he's not a makeup artist and he's not a woman.
Right.
And he says, things with shimmer sell better, so let's keep investing in things with shimmer. Well, your bronzer shouldn't have shimmer because why would you shadow something, or why would you highlight something that's supposed to be shadowing? So I just took all the annoying things out and just educated people to the why, and then when it makes sense and they see the difference, they're like, I like that. No bottom eyeliner is really hard to get people to adhere to, especially if they've been wearing it for 20 or 30 years. And so once they see the difference, it takes them about a week to get rid of the security blanket. They're like, holy shit, she was right.
And this branding has worked for you. I think it's one of the reasons that me, as an outsider looking in, would think is one of the reasons of your success, because you had such an exact plan of how you were going to do that. And then for you, Shawn, I mean, all this success in real estate, all this success in other companies, and then now you have the podcast. And I know you're on there most of the time with him, Jentry. Tell me about why did you start that? What was that about?
I said it before. Well, number one, Jentry was always talking about starting one. And
I was just talk.
I was like, she's not going to pull the trigger on it. I was like, you know what? I'll do it with you.
I shit my pants when he said that.
Yeah,
I was like,
she goes, you don't even have a social media account. I was like, I'll figure it out. She was
back to that, I figure it out again.
Yeah, and she was like, there's no way you're going to get and talk in front of all these people and do what it takes to be on social media. I was like, I'll figure it out.
But he instantly got a ton of follows when I told my followers that my husband had a social media, because everybody was like the mystery man. Mm-hmm. They want to know about his diet. Like, I would post Shawn's breakfast and I would get 1,000, no joke, 1,000 messages. People say, can you send me his meal plan? What is that? How does he eat that every day? I'm like, he eats the same exact thing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day with 9 ingredients. But everybody wanted to know more about Shawn.
But
you took that to your advantage, though, really.
That was the first reason. And then the second reason, like we talked about, I knew it would improve my communication over time, which is going to help you be a better leader.
Right.
All the above, right? It's going to help me communicate with our employees, be more comfortable in pretty much any situation. So that was number 2. And then number 3, at some point, long-term goals, some type of educational platform. Definitely want to help kids, where I was lost when I was 18. be able to help people like that at some point. So I know long term for the education thing, we'll definitely need some type of platform, some type of influence.
Right.
Especially my son trying to, I don't believe he has to go to school. I'd probably pay him not to go to college if he wanted to.
I heard you say that recently on something.
Yeah. So, and nowadays, more and more and more and more, right? But when I was a kid, maybe slightly college, now zero.
Well, the world is different, and we have more tools than we ever did before. And I think that so much of people's success, in my opinion at least, is solely dependent on your emotional health and structure of your life in that way. I really do believe that, because think about what I'm hearing you both say. If you didn't have this great relationship where you felt like you could each respect each other to do what you need to do, if you didn't have the great communication, if you didn't have an understanding of who each other are, you weren't aware of how to be down-regulated and emotionally regulated in your life to be able to show up and continue doing what you're doing, you wouldn't be where you are. And I think that is one of the missing links that so many people don't pay any attention to.
I think it's a huge distraction when couples can't get along. When your best friend and how can you go home and focus on your business? Because it doesn't stop at 5 o'clock.
Of course
How
not.
could I go home and focus on getting caught up in my emails or my computer work or whatever if him and I are fighting? Like, we don't ever, don't go to bed fighting or whatever the saying is. We just don't fight at all. Give each other space and just know that we're different people. We do things a little bit differently, and that's okay. And you don't need to give the other person a hard time if you want your significant other to be successful. You got to let them spread their wings.
Right.
Yeah, the support thing's a big deal. There's no way I could ever be with somebody that, I'm doing all this stuff at work and having all these issues because...
You texting that girl?
Yeah.
Who's that bitch following you on social media?
Oh, I can't with that. I cannot with that.
the world melts down every day in my companies, and if I had to come home to that also, that's a real struggle for me. Well, there's no way I could ever do that. It wouldn't last very long.
Yeah, it wouldn't. It would fall apart. And I
wouldn't
really
even
do
try
think
to fix it.
Who you pick, your life partner in life, is one of the biggest decisions that you'll ever make.
I think so.
It really is. I want to kind of pivot a little bit here to something fun, because I want to talk about the mixology and the cocktail book coming up. So tell me about that.
I don't know if I would put that in my thing, but yeah, I've been working on it all weekend. So I didn't even drink until I was 27 years old. I hated the taste of alcohol. Like, all my friends would drink, and I would be the designated driver to get everybody home. And I'd stay up to those clubs until 3 o'clock in the morning, totally sober. But I think it's because, being from Clear Lake and not really having many good bars.
Craft cocktails.
No, it was like cranberry vodka, or even back then they didn't have craft cocktails at the nightclubs that I was going to. I just didn't really like that vodka soda type thing. So I guess it was probably about maybe 10, 15 years ago, craft cocktails started becoming more popular, and I was like, I kind of like the taste of this stuff. And so I was like, you know what? I want to start getting into this. So we have a house in Austin. There's nothing around it. We're an hour from downtown Austin where the bars are, or nice restaurants. So we have to do everything at home, cook everything at home. I end up being the mixologist. Didn't really know what I was doing 2 years ago, but everybody would come to me like, I want to drink. You do so much better than me. And I just kind of learned on my own. And then watching, we sit at bars almost every single night when we go to a restaurant. We don't sit at tables because you get better service.
Once again, you see an opportunity.
Yep. And I was like, you know what? I want to do for cocktails what I do for makeup. I want to make it easy, because it's very intimidating if you don't know, how to put an egg white in a drink, or to shake before or after the ice, or whatever.
I love my drinks with egg white on them.
I didn't even know how to make simple syrup. I mean, it is so simple, but I didn't know. And so I want to make a well, first of all, it's going to be nice and pretty, so you'll like to have it in your house. I'll give you one.
Yes, I will.
But also a guide for anyone who's not a mixologist. They don't know how to craft a cocktail, could come over to your house and make their own drink and feel confident that it's going to taste great. So I just took some of my favorite drinks at different restaurants from, Blue Dorn or Annabelle Brasserie, and tweaked them to make them mine, or kept them the same and gave them credit for their drink, and just made it super, super simple. Like, what is a jigger?
That's so fun.
What is a egg white dry shake mean? And that's what I'm working on now. So I'm more than halfway done. I found somebody randomly who does wedding invitations, and somebody posted some samples of wedding invitations in the wedding industry of one of my coordinators. I'm like, that's what I've designed in my head. So connected with her, and we're both super excited to do this project.
That's wonderful. What do you think about that? I mean, we're going from makeup to craft cocktails now.
Oh, I'm all for anything, really.
Well, he's been asking me, he's like, can you type up something that we can keep at the house?
Yeah.
You know, and just, I was going to have Travis from Man Ready Mercantile just put me together a little leather bound thing and, you know, hot stamp it or whatever. But we need something at the house for people to follow. So if I'm not there, they know what to do with all the stuff that they find on the counter.
That's kind of how it started. She was like, I just need to make one of this. She was like, actually, a lot of people I know keep asking me about this. Why don't I just make one that looks nice and you could actually keep it on your counter? So technically somebody wouldn't really be buying just a book. It would be more of an art piece too, to like keep in your house or
I love that.
And I love design,
coffee table
like
kind
you
of
do.
thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not really that
the
good
aesthetics.
at the interior part of it. I have to have help.
Yeah,
but
the
with drinks, I like the drink to look pretty. So you like egg white drinks, you know, they just look pretty with put little marigolds on them and, you know,
and we go have a
thyme and all
cocktail.
that
We're
stuff.
trying to
Yes.
find what's the prettiest thing for sure. But again, this is growth. This is one more thing. We're identifying something you want to do and you're going to grow and try something new. And I applaud people that do that because if we don't continue growing, you know, we die. I mean, that really is it. It's a morbid thought, but I emphasize that so much in my line of work. And what I do is that, you know, life can be so amazingly rich and joyful and experiential.
Just don't overthink
Only
it.
if we decide we want to
Yeah.
embrace that.
And then don't overthink it too, because the imposter syndrome, if I let that get a hold of me, like what are bartenders going to think when I come out with this drink and I have no like real life experience or education on this, I just kind of winging it. And that's kind of what I wanted my title to be, something, and I can't say my name of my title because I learned my lesson the last
Yes.
time I did that and somebody trademarked it.
There you go.
Yes,
Lessons
we won't do
learned.
that. We won't do that. We'll talk about it till I get through with that. But I want the title to be like, hey, this is for amateurs. This is not for someone
But
who...
I love that you're like identifying that. I mean, I have a piece of art back there I did for someone that says imposter syndrome is my bitch for that exact reason.
I need that
because
piece.
we do have to make that our bitch. We have to recognize that nothing can hold us back except for us.
Yep.
You know, that's it.
Well, having purpose. I think that's what a lot of people lack.
Right.
And how could you go? That's what I tell her all the time. You know, even before we had kids or anything else, there's no way I could ever retire because I watched my grandparents just sit on the couch and just retired at 65. And then every time I went over there, it just like deteriorated a little bit more and more and more. Just no purpose to wake up, no learning,
Right.
no anything. Like everything stopped at 65.
Well, you're not living a life of intention by that time. And there's other ways to enjoy your life, you know?
I'm trying to build the life that I love. So every single day, I love coming to work. I love hanging out with our family. I love doing what we do every single day. And, you know, I build the life I want, so I don't have to go somewhere else. She's going to say the vacation thing.
I know. You already know what I'm thinking. He already
Yeah.
knows. That's our biggest spiff is I love to travel and he does not.
I have the same thing. My husband does not travel. I travel with my girlfriends, and that's just how it works. Because he
I'm
doesn't.
okay now. If
And the
they're,
people ask, they're like, where's Shawn? I'm like, he does not enjoy this shit.
I actually like to go if there's some type of work involved where I can't just go somewhere and just sit there for 5 days. Terrible. But if there's
gets you
some
bored and
purpose,
antsy.
if there's purpose along with like sprinkled in those like 5 days, I'm
This
okay.
sounds so familiar to me.
God, like I can't just go and not do anything. I would go crazy.
I just go chilling with my girlfriends. It's great.
Exactly.
My happy place.
I go once a year with her. She goes 2-3 times a year maybe.
But he's getting antsy by like the second day. He's like
Yeah.
on the phone, working the whole time.
I understand completely. But y'all do have that nice work-life balance, regardless of how busy y'all are. I see it, you know?
And that's what I try to do.
Figure that out.
At least 5 nights a week is him and I go out together. We have our 1 to 2 hours at dinner. We catch up on life. It's like almost like a meeting where we get to catch up on what happened in the day because both of us have a lot of shit. I think that the amount of shit that happens in each one of our days is like a month or a year's worth for other people.
We don't talk all day long really. It's very rare that we sit there and text back and forth or, you know, talk to each other 2-3 times a day.
I love to hear
distraction.
that because I work with couples so often where that is such a disconnect when one person is really diving into their work and the other person might be staying at home, taking care of children, or might just have a job that isn't as demanding or rigorous, and there's that disconnect. But if we're constantly taking off that work hat and that focus hat because we feel a need to check in versus a desire to check in, there's a big difference, you know, and you've decided, wait, we want to check in at the end of the day. This is our time, and you've made that intentional. It doesn't matter when it is, it's just that it's intentional for you both versus that feeling of, you know, sometimes it's an insecurity thing. Sometimes it's a, you know, if I don't continue to
Does he not
talk
care
all
about
day
me?
long,
Yeah.
we put an inner narrative or this inner idea voice to it that really is probably not applicable at all. And then you're headed down a path where your relationship has got some challenges.
Or if I call him and he declines my phone call, I'm like, that MFer just declined my phone call. But I don't really care. I joke about it.
I'm
but
in
I
the
get
middle of
he's in
something.
meeting.
Same thing with her. And if I text her and she doesn't text me back for 5 hours, then it's not freak out and
But
don't
that's
think she's not
healthy.
answering her phone. Yeah, it's just because she's doing something.
And even when I'm on vacation, he doesn't text me the whole time and say, like, how was your day? What did you do today? I mean, if I'm gone for a week, he may check in once or twice, which is great, you know?
But you guys have a healthy relationship, and where you've established these are our boundaries, this is what works for us. And again, I can't relate that back to success enough, because I think it's just so crucial. I think it's one of the biggest things that we take for granted sometimes, until maybe you're experiencing something very different, and then you recognize, wow, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have that hold me back.
Yeah, it makes me feel sad, because I've been in relationships like that there are people out there probably watching this that don't have that sort of relationship. And I don't know, you're the therapist, I'm not, if you can go backwards from there. Like, once you have that, I
think you can. I mean, everybody has the capacity to change if they have the interest and the commitment, and they're not plagued by something bigger than that, some sort of unhealed trauma or things like that they're not willing to work on. But I mean, people have the capacity to grow, just like you've all have grown in your own way. But it's whether there's the interest and the willingness to be introspective and want to face it.
Yeah, imagine that being hard for someone who's trained their brain to do that.
Yeah, the respect thing is a big deal in a relationship. And
yes.
If you don't have respect, I mean, there's going to be constant fighting and arguing. Also, people always point the finger at, the other person, but a lot of times they need to fix a lot of things. Well, no, it could be both, but they need to fix a lot of stuff with their self, and that would repair a lot of the problems that they're having in their relationship. Might not be 100% of them, but it's most of the time, if they start working on their self, they would end up have a better relationship, no matter who they're with.
I agree with that. What kind of emotional and personal legacy do you want to leave for your kids? What are the thoughts, the concepts you want to leave for your children?
Well, hard work. Respecting your spouse. I didn't see that at my house. Like, my parents did not get along. They were always fighting, always yelling, a lot of very loud, veins in the neck, spit coming out of your mouth, yelling. Not hitting, but the yelling, which can be just as bad.
Yes.
So thankfully, Shawn and I don't fight, so our kids don't ever have to see that. But I would never want to introduce that to my household, and, teaching them to respect their significant other. And I think Liam is just a really nice, understanding kid from the example that we've given him in our relationship.
You've modeled it.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of parents don't understand how much the kid's watching. And so if you want to go and you want your kid to do something, you should probably be doing it yourself.
That's
for sure.
right.
The
Little
first thing.
sponges.
Yeah, and it happens over time, and I think that's why the consistency thing you go back to, it's the same thing with parenting, because if you do something for a day or two, the kid doesn't notice. But if you do it every single day for 2 years, the kid really notices, and they'll want to pick up on the same thing that you're doing or the same way you're acting.
I agree with that.
Well, this may be a personality thing with Liam, and we won't know until Lila gets to his age, but he doesn't whine or throw a fit. He never, we see other kids like throwing a temper tantrum in the store or whatever. He never does that. He's very respectful to us because we're respectful to him. And, explain to him why. Like, he doesn't get his iPad. He got his iPad taken away from him. He's watching some weird shit. And we're like, now he says, do you miss your iPad? He's like, no, I don't need it anymore. But never threw a fit or lost his mind or acted like a little brat about it, because we explained to him the why, and he's very understanding.
Yeah, that was the best thing we ever did. That was our first kid, so we're just, winging it, right?
Yeah, it was
like in everything we do, right? We learn as we go, right?
Like, give him the iPad so he shuts up.
Well, no, what I noticed over time is, he's like more just like zombie-like every day. And so pulling it away, it started in the car when we were driving to Austin, and then it was more and more and more and more. And then you don't even see him for 3 hours. Yeah. Once we pulled it away, it became such a better kid.
Well, it's a dopamine suck. It's a short burst of information. It's not good for any of us.
I would imagine they would only just fuel ADHD.
Right.
And he already has that.
Right. Our brains aren't really designed to be able to handle that kind of short burst all day long like that, or for extended period of times, especially when the neurodevelopment of a child at that time. It's hard. But it's easy. It's so easy to say, here, can you just look at that, please?
But now he's doing puzzles, and he's really wrapped up and intrigued by the puzzles. He's doing 9-year-old puzzles. He's 5 and reading the instructions himself, and he's doing a great job. He's not asking for the iPad, maybe a little bit on the weekends, but not bad.
My biggest fear now is having Liam grow up to have his hand out. He's definitely growing up in a lot easier situation than we had, and so that scares me more than anything, and so that's what I focus on every day. And so I know over time he'll have, hard work and just dedication and fulfillment in his life. If he doesn't have it, his hand out, and expect things to be given to him.
Remember a year ago-ish when his iPad broke, he goes, buy me a new one.
Yeah, I think there was some defining moments. Number one, I was always nervous about it, but there was a couple. One time, too, we walked into the store, And he's like, Dad, buy me this and buy me that. I was like, no, we're not. Number one, we don't buy him anything anymore unless he earns it. And he's going to figure out how to make money because he's doing everything that I asked him to do because he's been getting Legos every once in a while. And now he's like, give me another Lego. I'm doing all the stuff that you wanted me to do. And I'm like, you need to learn how to make money.
Gotta pivot again.
No, now you need to learn how to make money. And so now that's our new thing is I'm teaching him how to make money. So every week. I
like these concepts.
Yeah, every week he'll learn how to make money. And so hopefully he can buy his own stuff. I said, you can buy whatever you want if you can make enough money to buy it.
It's true.
He was shocked when I told him how much an iPad was.
I would like everyone to believe that throughout life, right?
Yeah.
Let's continue on with that concept.
Yeah, we'll give him like $1. I'm like, say your ABCs all the way without skipping E, and I'll give you $1. And so he did it. And I said, okay, here's $1. And he's like, how much is an iPad? Because he told me buy him one. I was like, I'm not buying you one. You got to earn it. And we get him like the refurbished ones from Amazon or whatever. So $200, whatever I told him, $200, $300. And he goes, oh my God. I go, yeah, that's expensive. And you were throwing the other one around. And I need you to respect the things that we do get for you and not throw them around. You broke it, and that's what happened. So I'm not buying you a new one. And then he just kind of forgot about it. We just never got him a new one.
He's getting to the age now where he definitely understands everything. And so I think he's ready to learn how to make money, and he'll be able to learn and really apply it. So it'll be really cool. I'm excited.
Well, I love your drive that you have together. I love the focus, the respect, these joint commonalities in the way you look at the world and your perspectives. I think it's really exciting and fun, and I can't kind of wait to see what you do next. I mean, any last thought, Shawn, that you're going to do next? We touched on Jentry. Anything else down the pipeline exciting?
I'm working on.
You're just going to surprise us?
I'm working on 100 things right now. No, I'm always looking to grow. That's the one thing that'll never stop. So.
Well, I love that about you both. Thank you for coming on today.
Well, thanks
it was
for
really
having us.
awesome.
We'll see you this week later on.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm going to
make a visit over there too.
All right.
All right. Thanks for joining us today, everybody. Bye.